Om Rim Shri Acharya Yashovijay Suri Namaha. Om Rim Shri Acharya Hemratna Suri Namaha. Om Rim Shri Acharya Shri Chandra Suri Namaha. संयमेन विषयाविरतत्वे दर्शनेन वितथाभिनिवेशम् ध्यानमार्तमथरौद्रमजस्रं चेतसः स्थिरतया च निरुन्ध्य. Suppress the unruly urge of the senses with self-restraint, counter the false, preconceived notions, delusion with the right perspective, and suffocate the obsessive possessiveness and compulsive hatred with unwavering stillness. This shlok actually summarizes what Samvar Bhav is, Samvar Bhavna. We'll go more into the details. Before that, just a quick recap. Last time we talked about the Ashrav Bhavna, and Ashrav is the inflow of karma, the process of the inflow of karma and attaching to the karma is bandh, to the soul is bandh. So the four causes of Ashrav we had talked about last time, magpie, Mithyatva, Avirati, Kashay, Pramad, and Yog. Mithyatva is delusion, false belief. Avirati is lack of restraint. Kashay is passions, krodh, man, maya, lobh. Pramad or ajagruti is mindlessness. Yog is the activities of the mind, body, and speech, man, vachan, and kaya. And a few other things that we talked about here is karmic matter surrounds us everywhere. These are subtle physical particles. Due to our magpie, due to all of the causes of ashra, they get attracted to us and bind to us and become karma. Vishay, the pleasure of the five senses, and kashay, kashay, which literally means that which increases our meandering in the worldly cycles, are our biggest enemies. So Vishay and Kashay are the two biggest enemies, and those are what we want to tackle when we talk about Samvar. So we need to overcome these karmic inflows of ashra in order to retard and eventually stop the karmic inflow. Because all of the trouble that we have, all of the problems we have are because of the karmic inflow, and we want to put a check on it. So what is Samvar? Samvar is the process of stopping the influx of karma. It is the guarding of our true qualities from the forces of karma. So our two qualities, anyone wants to answer those? What are our true qualities? What are the qualities of the soul? We took that actually in almost all the bhavnas in the Mangalacharan. And we also went into detail about that before. Does anyone remember what are the qualities of the soul? No one wants to guess? Come on, this shouldn't be that difficult. It's not a trick question. Pretty straightforward. No one?
Formless.
One person put formless in the
Formlessness.
chat. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's Ansh. Ansh Jain. Formlessness. Yes. Formlessness is a quality of the pure soul. What is within, even though we don't have a form, what is it that constitutes us? What is it that distinguishes us from a non-living thing? Come on, this shouldn't be that difficult.
Gnan.
Gnan, yes.
Movement, I guess.
Movement. Movement is more, due to the body, but so stillness is more a quality of the soul. Gnan,
Bhavna.
bhavna, yes.
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Correct. So yes, so these are the qualities of the soul. Gnan, Anand, happiness, that should be stuck in your head by now, that is our quality. That is something that we want to manifest, we want to experience. So Gnan, Darshan, Anand, um, infinite energy, all of the qualities that we talk about in Siddh Bhagwan, those are our qualities. So guarding those true qualities from the forces of karma, because we do not experience those qualities, and that is what we want to do by doing Samvar and Nirjara. And the other aspect of Samvar is disconnecting from the constant ashrav of karma. So reducing our carbon footprint and our karmic footprint. When we disconnect from devices, when we disconnect and you go on a retreat and you cut off from everything, you're not utilizing any of the resources of this world, you are reducing your carbon footprint, right? We talk about that, in manufacturing and, there's so many other everyday business world. Every company is trying to greenwash and, tell everyone that their carbon footprints are really low, and still they continue to produce and, they want us to buy their products. But here we are talking about our personal carbon footprint. What am I using? What am I utilizing? Objects, energy, whatever resources I'm utilizing, I disconnect from those, because all of those will bind us karma, will pull karma towards us. Whenever we utilize any resource or we interact with any jeev, in whatever way, we are increasing our carbon as well as karmic footprint. Okay, so that is just in short what is Samvar, but we'll dive deeper into it. Now, all the dharam that we do, everything that we do, we talk about, getting punya, and the goal of any dharmic activity that we are involved in is getting rid of our karma, right? But it doesn't happen unless we first start with Samvar. And there is a story that Pujya Shri Grish Bhai always mentions in his pravachan. And it is about these people who have, they are mentally challenged, and the way for the people there to, the doctors there to certify them as whether they are okay and they are ready to go out into the world is this test. So they would be given a bucket, and they would be asked, and a tap would be turned on, and the bucket would be kept below it, and they would be asked, they would be given like a glass to empty that bucket. And if they have not been cured, then they would keep emptying that bucket with the mug, but not shut off the tap. And if they are, if they actually shut off the tap, then they'd be certified as, yes, they're not, they don't need to be in this mental illness facility anymore, and they're fine, and then they can go out. So that is basically what Samvar is, shutting the tap, right? So last time in Ashra, we talked about the analogy of the boat with the holes, and, the water seeping through it and the boat sinking because of that. So plugging those holes, repairing that boat, plugging those holes so that the water doesn't flow in, that's basically what Samvar is, or shutting the tap, But our dharam, if we don't do the Samvar part, and if we are just, mopping all of the water that's overflowing, then it's really not achieving much, because we would constantly be still binding karma. Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah. Okay. All right. So how do we do Samvar? How do we shut that tap? How do we close all the sources of ashra? we talked about magpie, and here we will talk about SVAAA. So the first one is Samyaktva, having the right belief, aligning our belief system to that of Prabhu's Agnya. Vrat, taking vows. Akashaay, which leads to tranquility, a state of tranquility. And the two ways to do that is upsham and shay. So the two ways in which that we can tackle our kashay is either complete absence of it, which is harder to do because we've never done that. A lot of times we don't even detect that we have kashayas going on in our mind. So we start with suppression. So we suppress it, and that helps us, kind of not react to the situation with our passions. And then slowly we get into the habit of completely eliminating them. And then constant vigilance. Apramatt avastha is constant vigilance. Gurudev Shri Yashovijay Suri Maharaj Sahib said in one of his pravachan, and he actually quoted it in English, his own quote rather, I'm quoting him, that he said, in our religion, in our dharam, what is more important? IQ is not that important. What is more important is AQ, which is awareness quotient. The more we are aware, the more we are jagrut, the more jnana we have, the more dharam we are actually doing. So Apramatt is another way to do Samvar. And then Ayog is absence of activities. It would be wonderful if we could completely stay still, right? Because everything that we do, every moment, every action, every thought, is binding some karma or the other. So, Ayog would be a very high state. Ayog Kevli is, the highest state, but we're not there yet. So what we need to do is reduce those activities of mind, body, and speech, and keep them in check, and make sure that they are not causing too much harm. So we'll talk more about each of these in more detail, but this is the summary of how we can stop the inflow of karma. Does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay. So another story here, and this is a classic story from, our Indian culture. It's about this lion cub that got separated from the herd of lions, and by mistake got into a herd of goats. And he just basically, his mom was lost and family was lost, so it was a small baby cub, and he grew up with these goats. And the caretaker of the goats also didn't mind, this little cub, and the goats nursed him, and uh, took care of him, cleaned him by licking him and everything like their own kid. And slowly the cub started growing, and he behaved just like the goats. So he would make the sounds like the goats. He would get scared when somebody would run at them, rush at them, or threaten them with something. Basically, he was thinking he is a goat. And one day he walked away from the herd a little bit into a forest, and he met a full adult lion. And this lion saw him behaving like a goat, and the lion took him to a pond in the forest. And in the pond, the cub saw his own reflection, and he had never seen himself before. So he saw his own reflection, and he said, oh, I am a lion. And this is our story, right? So when we are behaving as if we are this body, we are behaving as if we are, I am Neha, I am this person's wife, I am this, human being, I am a woman, I have these duties, I have these, responsibilities, I'm related to so and so. All of these things that we carry around us as our identity, in every lifetime, it keeps changing. Every body that we take, we start behaving according to that. And we never really realize who we truly are, what are our true qualities. And Samyaktva, the very first thing for Samvar to happen, for us to be able to control and to not bind karmas, is to have this right perspective of who I am. We've talked about it in, Ekatva Bhavna and, several other bhavnas before this. And Samvar, basically re-emphasizes this, and we need to have this as our foundation. So when we go to darshan, when we go to the temple for darshan, when we look at the pratima of Prabhu, we should be able to, like this lion cub, we should look at Bhagwan and say, this is who I am. I am of the same jati. I am of the same creed. And why am I behaving like this? I am Bhagwan Atma. And that, a lot of the problems that we have in everyday life would be really resolved if we truly believe that this is who I am. So that is like the real foundational thing. And we've talked about I am that and only that belief. And that really is something that we should really ingrain in us. In this bhav, if there is something to, some goal to achieve, it is Samyaktva. And we cannot, we've lost so many bhavs in the past to, just behaving as these bodies that we take. We cannot lose this one. So I cannot emphasize that enough. More about what is Samyaktva. The ladder that you see, the stairway that you see here on the screen is called the 14 Gunasthanaks. Gunasthanak is basically the goalposts of our qualities that we achieve, or the qualities that we manifest, rather, that are within us. So as the soul, as we progress and are able to manifest more and more of our qualities, we move up this ladder. And it starts from, Mithyatva, that is the basic Gunasthanak. All of us are in that Gunasthanak. And we progress all the way up to, we have the potential to progress all the way up to the 14th Gunasthanak, which is that of Siddh Bhagwan, which is the Ayogi Kevli. And Samyaktva is the 4th Gunasthanak. And that is achievable in this lifetime. That is achievable. It's not something that we cannot do in this lifetime. It is something that we can definitely do. And at that Gunasthanak, when somebody is at this 4th Gunasthanak, they have achieved Samyaktva, there is an absence of the 4th category. Like how we have these storms and these hurricanes, categories. The worst category of Kashayas, the highest intensity, Anantanubandhi Kashay, that goes away. So somebody who has Samyaktva, who has reached that stage, would not indulge or would not fall into the trap of Krodh, Man, Maya, Lobh, of extreme quality. Okay, so that goes away. There is this self-realization that I am a Siddh Bhagwan. I am that that pure soul. And that belief is there within the person throughout. Also, believing in the reality around us. So my soul as well as all the other souls that I see around me, um, look at them as pure souls as well and behave accordingly with them, and also with all the things around us. So we talked about the tattva of Bhagwan. We talked about how there is Jeev, there is Pudgal, there is Dharmastikaya, Adharmastikaya, all of these other elements around us, and how they behave, and what is it that what are my qualities, and what is my relation to all of that. So believing in that reality which is given to us by Bhagwan, by Kevli Bhagwan, who doesn't have any bias, and then accepting that arihants are my gods, okay, they are mine, and having that connection, arihanto mahadevo, it is that connection of this is my Bhagwan, that is what we need to really build upon in this bhav. Along with that, why is that connection so strong? Because that is who I am. I am of that same clan, that same creed, that same family as Bhagwan. I am an eternal entity. So all of this combined together is Samyaktva. Does anyone have any questions on this? Is it clear? Is it too complicated? Okay.
I did have one question, kind of related.
Yes, Rishi.
So you said when somebody said Samyaktva, right? So they have they have Shraddha, they have faith in the Guru Bhagwan's Tirthankar. But you said they only have absence, of the worst kind of Kashay, of category 4. Right? So
Right.
because many times what we see, right, is somebody goes to the temple, we see that they're religious, they they look like they have faith in Bhagwan. And then we also see them come home and they get angry and they have all these other things.
Yes.
So many times it turns us off, right? Because we say, okay, now what's the point of dharam if you're just going to not even follow the rules?
Right. Right. So yes, the category 4 Anantanubandhi Kashay is gone. So Anantanubandhi is extreme, where someone would kill someone or do something really extreme like that. That level of Kashay, or dupe someone, cheat someone to an extent that it would be a huge scandal. It would not be even acceptable in society. So those extremities are gone. But yes, it's work in progress, right? So we are on the 4th step at Samyaktva. You are not at the step where you don't have any Kashay. So Kashayas do remain because we've been conditioned. We talked about that, right? We've constantly been conditioned to react in this way over infinite lifetimes. So it's not going to go away immediately. But the belief system is 100% aligned with Bhagwan. What I'm doing is wrong. Internally, that meter is on, that thing is on, that yes, that voice is there, that what I'm doing is wrong. And that is what is Samyaktva. So it's not the final stage. It's not, you cannot, we don't expect that person to be like a Sid Bhagwan, or even closer to that, but uh, it's work in progress. So we will see those discrepancies, and at that time we shouldn't be judgmental of other people. We have to look within ourselves and look at, hey, where am I reaching my goal?
What was his question actually?
Yeah.
What was his question?
His question was, we see people getting angry. They might be doing dharam, and later on they are at home and they might get angry. So does that answer your question, Rishi? Or I'm not sure if it's... Huh?
You didn't let him ask his question.
Oh, did I not let you complete? I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I think Kaivan now has a question.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious about this picture of ladder. So there are two ways after the 9th step, right? So what does it suggest?
So, at that step, there is a possibility that the person would fall from that step too. And I mean, we are not going into the details here, but basically what it says is um, this is a process that we want to always be vigilant in. So if we tackle dharam in such a way, or we take on certain vrat, or certain actually Rishi's question is connected to this. So we see people doing dharam, we are doing dharam too. But if we do not have the understanding, if we do not have the gnan, the proper understanding of why am I doing something, what is my goal, and what is it that I want to achieve, that I am Sid Swarupi, and this is not my nature to behave in this way. If that understanding is not there, and if all of the things are being done externally, then there is a very high chance that the person would fall. And even with some understanding, because of the learnings, the wrong learning for infinite lifetimes, there is a chance that the person would fall. But once you're on this path, you have, laid the foundation, you have attained Samyaktva, you will go back on this path.
I can add. So basically, he's talking about this is after 7th Gursthanak, right? So we were talking about the 4th Gursthanak, but after 7th Gursthanak, when one goes on what is known as the Shreni or the ladder to the higher Gursthanaks. So as was mentioned before, right, we can either eliminate the Kashayas or we can suppress them. So it's possible that soul can suppress the Kashayas and reach as far as the 12th Gursthanak, 11th Gursthanak. But because they have suppressed the Kashayas, so therefore they will again come into fruition, right? They will again come back. And once they come back, then basically that's what they are shown the person falling. So when the Kashay comes back, then the person can go to lower Gunsthana. So they are, so at the 11th Gunsthana, they are called Upsham Vitrag. And the people who go to the 12th Gunsthana are Sheen Vitrag. So from 12th, one becomes an Arihan or a Kevli. But from 11th, they'll have to come down again and then eliminate the Kashais and go back on that. So that's what the picture is kind of depicting. It's a little bit of advanced topic than what we were talking. But the main thing is, the distinction between suppressing and eliminating.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the tale of two Atmas. So putting all of this in a simple two category, two ways to understand this is Bahiratma and Antaratma. Bahiratma is one where the person is completely focused on outside, everything outside of them. So seeking pleasures outside, seeking happiness outside, and they're constantly thinking of themselves as or their identity as something that is constituted by who they know, who they associate with, what they look like, what they wear, what they own, all of those things. Okay, so that is the state of mind when the person is at the first, second, and third step in this stairway. So in the first, second, and third gunasthanak, that's what the person is like. We are Bahiratma. When we realize who we are, and that is the turning point, right? When we realize who we are, that locus of who I am goes internal, and that starts at the fourth gunasthana. And so we would start seeking pleasure within. We would start focusing on developing our qualities and protecting them. So all of those activities would be in that direction, and that starts at the fourth and goes all the way up to the 12th gunasthana. And I mean, it's not like a straight this ladder shouldn't be looked at as a just as it is. It's constantly, it's like a, EKG graph. Okay, constantly we are going up and down these gunasthanaks. And you can talk about these gunasthanaks as, you can say on an average, the person might be at this gunasthanak. On an average, it might be, but it's constantly up and down. And it is all dependent on, what is going on inside us. Our kashayas, our yog, everything. Okay. So Samyaktva can be understood from Bahiratma, Antaratma, and then from the 12th Gunasthanak upward, 13, 14, it is Paramatma. The second part of Samvar is Vrat. Just realizing who we are is not enough. That thought, that feeling, that realization needs to be fully manifested. And the way to do that is to create a protection, a fence around us, so that we can control our desires. If we let our desires, go haywire, then all of the kashayas, Vishay, Kashay, everything will bring us back down. And we will continue to get more and more karmas. So the way to block that is Vrat. But of course, the pre-qualification is Samyaktva. We have to know why we are doing it. And for that, in our Jain Dharma, Bhagwan has given an absolutely fantastic framework. Jains are even known for that, right? All of our penances, all of our, pachkhan that we take, all of those things that we see people doing actively, that is the action part of the, Samvar Bhavna, is Mahavrat and Anuvrat. So the sadhus have the 5 Mahavrats and the Shravaks have the 12 Anuvrat. And those are basically to protect our inner qualities, to enhance them and protect them. So these are the 12 vows of a Shravak. Most of you would know them, but we can just quickly look at them. Ahimsa, Satya, Achaurya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. All of these are also taken by Sadhu Maharaj Sahib, but they are taken completely. They do not harm any living being. As a Shravak, we take the exception of Ekendriya, for our food, for our sustenance. But besides that, we do not harm from Beindriya to Panchendriya any of the other jeevs, willfully, knowingly. So each one of these vrats is taken in a partial way, and that's why it is called Anuvrat. Then Dik Pariman Vrat, where we set boundaries on how much we would travel. Bhog Vrat is all of the things that we utilize on a daily basis, our clothes, our food, our, everything that all our day-to-day activities, limiting those. Anarthadand is, where there are some activities that are completely useless. Sometimes we are just browsing and, mindlessly doing it and wasting time. And, those kind of activities are anarthadand. They seem harmless, but they do cause karmic inflow. And then all of the rest of the vrats are so that we can, really focus on our internal qualities. So once we, make this big, huge external fence, we go within with Samaik, Desavagasik, Paushad, and Atithi Samvibhag Vrat. Does anyone have any questions on any of these vrats? Would you want me to elaborate, or I think you all have kind of an idea of what it is?
The last one, Atithi Samvibhag Vrat.
So Atithi Samvibhag Vrat is, Atithi is somebody who has taken Sarvavirti. So, our Sadhu Sadhviji Maharaj Sahib. So serving them and offering whatever we have to them. That is basically Atithi Samvibhag. So that we can, and why do we do that? So that a Shravak is defined as one who wants to become a sadhu at some point in time. Okay? If a person doesn't have that desire, we cannot call them a Jain Shravak. So having that desire, we obviously want to become like them, and so out of our love and out of our respect to them, we offer food, or we offer cloth or whatever, any of the few needs that they might have. Okay.
Uh,
So
so I'm sorry, I forgot to raise hands. I was just saying, Atithi Samvibhag also includes sadharmic bhakti, right? And giving any kind of dan to uh, supatra, like supatra dan and sadharmic bhakti.
So Supatra Dan would come in Atithi Samvibhag, and Sadharmik Bhakti would be part of, it's even a level below Shravak. So even if you haven't taken any of the vrats, it's
Mm-hmm.
just in the system that we are in and in the culture that we are in, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we don't eat alone, right? We always offer to somebody. So
Yeah.
this is our, and taking care of others who are following the same path is our duty. So uh, this is even more advanced than that. Atithi would specifically mean sadhu sadhiji. But anukampa dan, all of those things, those are part and parcel of the lifestyle that we lead, and that leads to somebody, who is a marganusari and then becomes a shravak. So in our ahimsa vrat, obviously, Jeev Daya is part and parcel of who we are as Jains. So doing that, taking care of other Jains, if somebody is in trouble or in need, because it's the same belief system that we want to foster.
Right.
I
So
think we had one comment in the chat of Ansh asking what is Desavagasik?
Desavagasik Vrat. So Desavagasik Vrat is where you limit the distance as well as the things that you would utilize that specific day, and you spend the entire day, in doing samaik and doing dharmadhyan, all of those things. So it is a little, I would say it's a step before Poshad. Poshad Vrat is where you stay in the Upashray. Desavagasik Vrat can be done in your home. And it is for, a certain time. So for the day, for the daytime.
So basically, it's a mixture of Samaik and Paushad Vrat, like a balance between.
Yeah,
Just
you can say that. Sorry?
It's mainly Samaik. So the way it's implemented is basically doing like
10
12
samaik.
Samaik, so like 10 Samaiks and then
Two
two Pratikamans. So that's what you would do during the entire day.
So obviously you're spending that much time, so your day is spent in Samai, and you take Samvar. So you limit everything that you're going to utilize that day. And, you wouldn't have time for, doing much outside of that, right? So,
Oh, I have a question as well.
yes.
Yes, my question is, are there different, are there classifications of the different vruts? Like, is there a sequence of them, or what is the thing that distinguishes them, or something? Like, do you take the vows in a certain order, or is it just like you take them all at once, or?
No, yes, you can take all of them all at once. It is any of these vrats that we take, it would be under the guidance of a guru. Okay, so Guru Maharaj Sahib would evaluate, what we understand, how we understand things, and then based on that, they would give us these vrats. And usually, you would start out with a shorter duration. All 12 can be taken together, or you can take just even one. Even if you take one Vrat, you would still qualify to become a Shravak. You can still be called a Shravak. So
Is there one Vrat that is more that is taken more often than the other ones?
I would say, the first 5 Vrats are the basic ones. So, what really bothers us the most is our parigraha, right? So all of the things that we possess. So limiting those would be one example where, you would say that within, this year, I would not collect, more than this much.
So is that why? So that's why there's a color coding to the chart, is because
Okay. All right. The color coding is basically the first 5 are the main ones that the sadhus also take, but they take it completely. The Dik Parimar, Bhog Upbhog, Anarthadan, those are the ones that kind of help. They would, enhance the other vrats. And the Samayik, Desavagasik, Poshad, and Atithi are the ones that really take us within. So, yes. So, Gunvrat and Shikshavrat. That's how they are kind of classified.
I also had a query like Samayik Desavakasik Paushad Vrat can also be considered a part of Ahimsa Vrat because like we are not performing
Yes,
any.
Ahimsa Vrat is kind of a global Vrat. If we have to, use one word for all the Vrats, it would be Ahimsa. All of them would fall in that category. But these classifications are given so that it is more practical. How do I apply it, right? Ahimsa is like really broad. And how do I put it in my daily practice? What do I do in my day-to-day life? So, there are some things that are even beyond these vrats, like smaller pachkhan or smaller vows that you can take, which are 14 niyam, which we are supposed to take every day. So you limit the distance that you would travel during the day. You limit, you have to design it to your lifestyle. So, if you are on the internet, a lot, then you limit that to, okay, I'm going to be on the internet only for 10 hours in a day or whatever, right? So it's basically whatever would aid you to go within, if that makes sense.
Yes, understood. Thank you.
And a lot of categories, a lot of detail is given on niyam. What I will do is, instead of like having, a discussion on each of these, I think it would be better if we can put a few examples. I do have it on the last slide, and also send out, some pachkhan that can be taken. I think YJ Rishi had put together these 14 niyam sheet, and we can probably share that too. I have one which is very detailed, so that hopefully it might turn off people. But I think the YJ one that Rishi put together was more simpler, so that could be something you can start with.
Maybe just go to from Poshad, go to Updhan and have Rishi.
Yes. So okay. Oops. So since we are talking about these different vrats, and we talked about the Poshad Vrat, we'll have Rishi talk about the Updhan that he did. And he can tell us, what his experience was and what is it that, how did he put Samvar in action?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking you might go through all of them because then I can kind of. Oh, you want to share your screen still?
Share your screen.
Oh, you share.
You.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, I guess the final 3, Akashaay, Apramatt, and Ayog, I'll kind of go over that, but then we can probably get back to those in years. So Updhan. So for those of you who don't know, a full Updhan basically is very high level. 47 days you go and you stay with the Sadhu Bhagwan. And during that you do different rituals and different practices through which you get basically you become worthy of actually learning the different sutras that we say every day, right? So those of you who say like Nokar mantra, technically your Nokar mantra was given to you by your parents, but in reality every mantra should be given by a guru. and it's not given for free, so you have to do something, and that's kind of this Updhan Vrat. So the first 18 days of Updhan Vrat, you stay like a sadhu, basically. Like if you see, that's just a picture of me at the end of 47 days. But the first 18 days you do it, then you get love karma. So they give you, just like how your parents taught you, like namo yantanam, namo siddhanam, the sadhu group, even though you know it, they'll give it to you again, and that kind of is how you get love karma. Then you get iryavai, and then you get, the other sutras, Panchandiya as well. So that very high level is Updhan. So last year in November, I went in a place called Shapur. So it's a Manas Mandir. So that's in kind of like in the mountains. It's a tirth. But I mean, right, externally, yeah, somebody says, okay, you live like a sadhu for 47 days. But what does it mean, right? What does it even mean to be and live like a sadhu? And so these are, kind of in parallel to what we are talking about in Samvar, right? So the 5, sva, so Samyaktva. So how does Samyaktva, play into this? And that's because, again, you have a presence of a Prabhu, right? Of Bhagwan and Guru. Two things have to be there. So, right again, right? Bhagwan, why? Because they are a reflection of who we really are. So we get that. And a Guru, why? Because they give us the right guidance. And that's what Samyaktva is. Then similarly, we have Vrats. So because you're living like a sadhu, sadhus also have rules, and they have, limits on their activities. What can they do, right? So no electricity, can't touch basically what you call sachit, or water that has life, right? So only boiled water. We can only walk anywhere we go. We have to go on foot. We have certain limits to how far we can. You can't leave the compound. We have to do tap, right? So it's alternating upvas and basically nivi. Nivi is like an ekasana. You can think very similar. And so you just alternate upvas nivi for 47 days. And this is all Vrat. These are all things that kind of keep your mind, because now you don't have options. And the thing that I realized is that the stress in our lives is that we just have a lot of options. Do I do this or this or this or this? Right? When you don't have options, you have a really focus, what you need to do. That takes away all that stress, right? So it's not, oh my God, I can't use electricity. What am I going to do? It's, oh, I can't use electricity. Well, no longer, I don't have to worry about my phone or my computer or my work or anything, right? So that's the feeling that you get. I know kids who were like in their college years, and they were coming and they were doing Updhan, and in the first few days they're like, Rishi bhai, like it's so hard, like we can't text our friends, we don't know what to do, right? But then as time goes on, right, they kind of they also begin to experience the peace of it as well. Third, Akashaay. Right, so again, the reason, right, that we kind of get into Kashay, or like, these extreme feelings or these passions, right, of anger, ego, things like that, is because we interact with the people, we interact with sansar, right? So if you think of Kashay as basically pollution, right, sansar, the external world, is quite polluted, right? So if you interact with it, you yourself become polluted. When you're in an environment which is totally pure, totally unpolluted, right, that everyone else around you is kind of in that same boat, well then, those automatically go away. Right now, the difference are those suppressed, like we talked about, or are they, completely destroyed? For the most part, you only kind of suppress them during Updhan. Very few people maybe destroy them, or to any degree. But because you're not thinking about it, we do Kashay. And so one of the main things we were told when we came to Updhan is, make sure you tell your family not to visit you. Right? Because what happens is, right, you're sitting there, you're kind of in this environment, and then suddenly your parents, or your friends or your brothers, they come to visit you, and they tell you, oh, like so and so did this, or so and so this and this happened, right? And immediately that, again, those day-to-day kind of things just kind of kick in, and you get distracted. So even when I was there, I made sure that, none of my family, I think they came to meet me once, and even that I talked to them for like 2 minutes, and I said that I have to go, right? And that was it. And so when you're not, it's not that it's not running away, right? So there's a difference between running away, right, and keeping a distance. And this is where you're keeping a distance for this, this amount of time. Fourth, Apramatt, right? So alertness and care in every action. So, right, you see in my hand, I have the chair of law, right? So every time I sit down, right, I have to sweep. It doesn't matter where I'm going, what I'm doing. Every time I sit down, I sweep. every time you give Kamasamanan, right? Maybe we haven't learned this when you go to the temple or we do like Patikaman, but you're actually supposed to, 17 times or 17 places you're supposed to sweep while giving a Kamasana called Satas and Dasa. Right? So we try to keep that in mind. Every time you leave an Upashya, you have to say, Avasi. Every time you enter, you have to say Nisihi. All these things you're constantly thinking about, right? If we kind of say an idle mind is the devil's playhouse, well, then how do you not keep an idle mind when you have all these different things you have to constantly think about, right? Your mind doesn't wander. And it takes a lot of practice. I can definitely tell you that I didn't follow every single thing every single day. We all made mistakes, right? That's the second part of alertness, is that you're also alert of the mistakes, right? Not just alert about what you're doing, but you're also alert of what you didn't do, right? And you write it down, and then you kind of get repentance for that, alochana for that later on. And then finally, Ayog. And so I guess we'll get into that as well, but kind of inner silence, right? All of these things, like I said, you don't have external kind of, things coming in. You're not dealing with like the phone or electronics. You don't have your family coming. You're, always attentive. You're totally focused. And so it brings a different set of kind of silence, right? It's not necessarily the silence of thought, but it's the silence of imbalance. I can give you an example, right? Is I during during my Updhan, I got dehydrated. We dehydrated so bad that 2 nights in a row I had to get like an IV bottle, right? Like basically get IV'd into my body because I just for some reason it was just very hot and I wasn't taking enough water, right? But each of those times, right, I can tell you that maybe externally, right, and Hirschbay was there with me, so he can also maybe tell you is that externally, yes, I was, bothered and stuff, but internally there was no feeling of what's going on, why is this happening, right? It was just, okay, this is what it is, this is what is wrong with my body, it's being fixed, that's it, right? So even during when I'm staying there for an hour getting the IV, right, I'm just still doing Novgar job or whatever it is, and internally there's no effect, right? And similar, that's the surrender to Guru. That's another thing, surrendering to somebody, to that higher person. Again, you're removing all kind of options for your mind, right? So everything becomes silent. And afterwards, right, when you practice this for 47 days, some people come for 18, some people do 36, 11, 27 different times, right? But it has to be some extended period of time, because that's the only way it sits, right? It kind of gets etched into your, not into your mind, but into your soul, really, right? It becomes a part of who you are. And so I have experienced, right, that after doing Updhan, my life, right, became easy, not in the sense that, this everything works out, but that no matter what happens, right, for me, I can live with ease, right? Mental ease. Right? So it doesn't matter if things, if I want something to happen, happens, or if it doesn't happen, that doesn't affect me as much anymore. If things don't work out, okay. If things do work out, also okay. And so I've kind of noticed that that ability to be so at ease to be a lot greater. So definitely anybody who wants to do Updhan, I mean, as a Jain, you should 100% you should do it, especially because you need the rights to say no garmanta. But this is kind of the main reason. So yeah, I went a little bit longer, but
It's
anything else?
kind of same. Like you can call it Apramatt or you can call it Apramatt. Apramatt is the name of the Gursthanak, and Pramad is in the magpie, MAKPY. We said Pramad, so opposite of Pramad would be just putting an A in front of it. Apramad. They mean the same.
Ansh had a comment on chat. So.
Yeah, he just answered that. Yeah.
Anybody have question for Yeshibai or on Udyan or anything related with what he said?
So,
Okay.
Khub Khub Anumodna of Rishi and also Harsh. They both, got a taste of what it is to shut down all of our connections and, really focus on going within. So really hats off to both of you, especially at this age. Actually, it is the best age to do it. So we hope that everyone feels inspired by this, and If not Updhan, at least try out a Paushad. If not a Paushad, at least try out a Samaik. That is something that definitely doable. And even if if you feel like, yes, Samaik is a lot for me, 48 minutes is a lot for me, um, at least try out the dhyan that we are doing, form that habit, and then keep extending the time. So on that note, do we have time for dhyan? Yes, a short.
We'll take 10 minutes extra and do the
Okay. All right. Everyone, please take a comfortable position. Sit cross-legged if you can. Close your eyes. Back straight. Take a deep breath. There are many, many before us who have paved the path to purification, self-realization, and happiness. And all of them have left their vibrations here for us to absorb. We also have gurus here who are still here with us, who are there to guide us. And they are living all of these principles. And their charitra, their pure character, puts an imprint on us that will last for a long, long time and help us and strengthen us in times of weakness. So breathe in all of those positive vibrations that they are constantly throwing out in this world for the benefit of not only themselves, but each and every Jivatma. They embody peace, they embody purity. The Sadhu and Sadhviji Bhagwans live an entire life of Samvar. They do not harm anyone. They do not hurt anyone's feelings. And if they ever make a mistake, they immediately take prayashchit from their guru. It is a living example of awareness, of Jagruti that they are setting forth for us. Picture any of the Sadhu Sadhviji Maharaj Sahibs that you may have done darshan of. And do an internal namaskar to them. Do an internal vandan. This is who I want to be. This is who I can be. Breathe in that bhav and breathe out all of the negative, weak feelings of I cannot do this, it's too much. There is freedom in awareness, the freedom to be, the freedom to be yourself. And that is what Samyaktva is all about, being yourself. No anger, no ego, no deceit, no false identities, and no desires of things, people, situations, everything that is external. Because anyway, it's not in my control. Slowly remove all those petty thoughts, the chatter that goes on in our minds, all the worries. Just let go of all of that. With the Agna of Prabhu and Guru and your own pure soul, resolve that for the next few minutes that we are doing our dhyana abhyas, you will stay focused. To continue to stay focused, we will do our prayer, our jap to Prabhu.
Rame pasyantu, 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 Rame pasyantu.
Continue the jap internally in your mind. Rame pasyantu. O Tirthankar Bhagwan, shower your blessings on me so that in this lifetime I can attain Samyaktva, self-realization. I can take the first step towards becoming myself by first accepting who I am. Tithera me pasyantu. Now completely stop even the internal chanting of Tithera me pasyantu. Just a blank slate. No thoughts. Be in the moment. Just for a minute. Now you may open your eyes. Tithera me pasyantu. Tithera me pasyantu. Tithera me pasyantu. Shivamastu sarva jagata parahita nirta bhavantu bhutagana dosha prayantu nasham sarvatra sukhi bhavantu lokaha sarvamangalamangalyam sarvakalyana pradhanam sarvadharmanam jainam jayati shasham. If I said anything against Jinagnya, Michhamidakam.
Thank you, Bhabhi. Thank you, everyone, for